नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. So we are in Adi Parva of Mahabharatam, the first of the 18 Parvas of Mahabharatam. And we left last time when Arjuna is in his initial exile. He has gone all over India and finally he has kidnapped Subhadra and he was in the chariot on the way out of Dwaraka, running off with her. We left it at that, and then today we actually skip a little bit ahead just to connect. There's a very fascinating story next after he kidnaps Subhadra, where what happens after that and the discussions that take place in Dwaraka of how the army etc. is shocked and they want to take action. Balarama wants to take action. Krishna is not wanting to take any action. The discussions that they have. Then what happens next? And then finally when the exile is over and he brings Subhadra to Indraprastha, then what happens when he meets Draupadi and what happens when she meets Draupadi? There are very fascinating stories in Bharatam. Then the birth of Abhimanyu, the birth of the 5 children of Draupadi. All of that is a part of the story that we are skipping now, because that was one that was already there. So right now we are at that stage of Bharatam where Arjuna is back in Indraprastha and Abhimanyu has been born. And the 5 children of the Pandavas have been born. Things are good. Krishna had given as much dowry he brought along to Indraprastha to match what was given by Draupadi's father. So after Draupadi had come, Krishna had landed up with all the elders, which included Akrura, Uddhava, Satyaki, all of them, to Indraprastha and laden with gifts for his sister. So all is happy. So we continue from there now. So with the guidance and approval of Bhishma and Drona, Yudhishthira is ruling, and when Yudhishthira is ruling, everything is good, and the Pandavas are defeating many enemy kings. They are expanding their dominion over Bharatavarsham. Ashritya dharmarajanam sarvaloko vasat sukham punya lakshana karmanam swadeham ivadehina. Taking refuge with Dharmaraja Yudhishthira, all the people lived in happiness. What is the analogy given by Vyasa for this? He says there is a Jivatma. By the power of the punya of the Jivatma gets a body. Like you and me, it's taken a body and is happily living in that body. Like that, the people of Indraprastha are living happily with Yudhishthira, and he was serving very diligently dharma, artha and kama in the land, almost as if they were personifications. Dharma, artha and kama were personified to whom he served in the land, as if they were Atma Saman Bandhu, says Vyasa, like his own Atma Bandhu. He served the 3 ends of the 4. And he himself stood as the personification of the 4th, of moksha. So all were happy. He was very, very loved by the people of Indraprastha. People found him to be somebody whose very being was centered on the contemplation of Param Brahma. was someone who conducted big yagyas, was someone who protected all the three worlds, was someone in whom Mahalakshmi, who is by nature Chanchala or Chapala, however, in his case was Thira, was firmly staying with Yudhishthira. Saraswati was firmly staying in his intellect, and Dharma was flourishing day by day in the kingdom of the Pandavas. Bhratrubhi Sahito Raja Chaturbhir Adhikam Babau Prayujyamane iti Prayujyamane Tato Veda Iriva Mahatvara. Just as an elaborately held big yagya gets so much more glory and energy and vibrance and all of that by the chanting of the four Vedas, if they accompany those Mahayagya, like that he, accompanied by his four brothers, acquired so much more glory when he was ruling the great kingdom of Indraprastha. Na yayuktam na cha satyam na sahyam na cha vipriyam bhashitam charubhashasya jangye parthasya dhimata. He was a soft-spoken and a nicely spoken man, Yudhishthira. He never spoke anything which was inappropriate. He never spoke anything which was a lie, a falsehood. He never spoke something which could not be tolerated by anybody. He never spoke anything which was unkind to anybody. He was all that. Chanakya Niti says, how do you succeed in life? You succeed in life by speaking kindly. It's a tip that he has given. Anyway, so all was good, and one day Arjuna and Krishna were together. Krishna has not gone back, he has come here and he is here at this point in time. They were chatting and Arjuna told Krishna, Krishna, it was summertime, things are getting hot. So he said, it's getting hot, the weather is getting hot. Why don't we all go for a swim to the Yamuna? Janardana, if it is okay by you, let us go with all our friends. Picnic to Yamuna, indulge in some water sports, etc., and we'll return by the evening. We can all go together and all that. Krishna said, you took the words out of my mouth. I was also having the same thought. We can all go. Let's go. Come. And quickly a whole, they have, it's not as if that, you have to look at the map and say we go here or we go there. They have various Krida Bhavanas in different parts. It's all there. It's just ready that, okay, you send one horseman earlier saying they are coming, so everything is set already. So there'll be by the sides of Yamuna, Ganga, etc., there'll be places set up where the royalty can go and spend a weekend, like the American president goes to Camp David or something like that. They have. So they do all that. So very nice places are there. So one of them is chosen, and the whole group of people from Indraprastha now, all revelers, they go to Yamuna, royal style. Of course, that includes Draupadi, it includes Subhadra, it includes all their friends, all the royalty, Kunti, all of that. I don't know, Kunti is not mentioned. Maybe she decided that she'll stay back. But rest of them, they did go. And Krishna and Arjuna and friends and all, they all gone there and various places, various bhavanas, the bigger ones, this one for you, etc. All sorts of lovely food items, bhakshyam, bhojyam, peyam, etc. was all there, ready to be consumed, being consumed. So all the Sakhis, all Draupadi, Subhadra, all of them were there, and some were playing. Some decided, they split into groups, some decided to go inside the forest and explore that. Some were playing in the waters, some were in the banks of rivers. All of them, most of the young ladies are all young, and they were all, kind of bouncing and intoxicated with their youth and their beauty and all of that. So they were all in high spirits, and they had gone with Krishna and Arjuna. Life couldn't be better. Things were good. Draupadi and Subhadra, there's a process out there. Draupadi and Subhadra, of course, had taken a whole lot of bags, etc., where they had gifts for all their friends and everybody else. So they had lots of stuff to give away. So they could give away jewelry. They were giving away nice dresses to all their friends. All happening out there. So all kinds of good things are happening out there, and groups and these girls, some were dancing, it seems, some were singing, some sang, Small groups will go. A couple of girls will go and sit down, and they'll be crying. It seems they'll be, they're having a good cry, hugging each other and crying. But something or the other, they are taking out, my life and all that. Whatever it was, somewhere quarreling with each other, saying what nonsense and all that. You did like that. You did like that. So they are all having fun out there, and sweetly they were quarreling, all of that. And some decided, some Vyasa already is explaining all that in Bharatam. I'm not making that up. So all nice things, exactly like it happens today, happened at that time. So there, some of them, it exactly happens like that. In fact, one of my classmates, she was telling me she met the other classmate in London, and then she said we were chatting the whole 4 hours. We didn't know how the time passed. We were crying. We were laughing. We actually cried. So so many things to cry about, so many things to laugh about. It's a good thing. So doing all of that, and then some girls, of course, went into Ekantam separately into some room nobody else could see. And Mantraya Masuranya Rahasyani Parasparam. They're speaking secrets to each other, it seems. Rahasyani Parasparam, so that others could not hear and all that. So all things are happening. So Raj Bhavan by the side of the river Yamuna was reverberating with all of that, with music, with veena, with flute music. Venu, Krishna might have sat down and started to play the flute. Venu, then Mridangam, and Arjuna might have played the Mridangam and all that. The party was on fire. I mean, they were having a good time by the banks of Yamuna. And when things were all nicely settled and all that, everybody was doing their thing. Then Krishna and Arjuna, of course, the best of friends, they decided, they just chatted and they were walking by here and there, and they took off by the banks of Yamuna, walking in the direction of the forest, and they were together chatting about various things. And they looked like twins, it seemed. They looked like Ashwini Devatas. They were looking so like Nara and Narayana. Like that they were looking. The two of them hand in hand walking. And as they were walking and were sitting in some place, suddenly in front of them there came a Brahmana. That Brahmana was as taller than them actually. He was as tall as a tree, says Vyasa. And the picture shows him to be a head taller than Krishna and Arjuna. A tall Brahmana. He was shining like molten gold. He was glowing, and the color of his skin was bluish yellow, bluish gold, if you may. And his moustache and his beard were all like as if made of fire. They were yellow, glowing like gold. And he himself looked as if he was the rising sun, like that one Brahmana. Yeah, but he was dressed in tattered clothes, and he didn't look all that well. And he had hair, matted hair, and also flowed over his shoulders. And when he came nearby, such was his presence that when he walked towards Arjuna and Krishna, both of them got up. They were sitting on some place. Both of them got up of their asanas. They stood up with folded hands. And this is being told by Vaishampayana. Janmejaya, and Vaishampayana tells him, the Brahmana came. And he told him, I am a Brahmana. And I am someone of great appetite. Hunger. I'm hungry. I always need great amount of food. Like Bhima needs. Great amount of food. Great amount of food. Oh, valorous Sri Krishna and valorous Arjuna, today I have come to ask you for bhiksha. Please feed me sufficiently so that you grant me tripti, satisfaction of eating well. Krishna and Arjuna said, oh, Brahmana, of course. Tell us what annam you would like. What would you like to eat? We shall try and get you the food that you desire. Which annam would you like? They asked that repeatedly, saying, which kind of food? You tell me, what do you want? So the Brahmana said, oh, heroes, oh, veeras. They kept asking, which annam do you like, which annam? They said, I am not interested in annam. I am not interested in rice. Know me to be Agni, the Lord of Fire. Give me that which appeases my appetite. Food is supposed to be medicine for the sickness of hunger. So different sicknesses need different medicines. In this case, his sickness needs a different medicine. So Give me that which appeases my appetite. And he said what it is. He said this forest nearby is called the Khandava forest. This Khandava forest is under the protection of Indra, O Krishna, O Arjuna. This Khandava forest is under the protection of Indra. Because of that, I am unable to burn it. In this forest, there lives the snake king Takshaka. Takshaka lives here with his family. He is a close friend of Indra. And therefore, Indra, who carries the Vajra, the thunderbolt, the Vajradhari Indra, he is always intent on protecting this forest. And because the Takshaka is under protection, all the animals in this forest are also under protection. Thereby, because Indra protects the forest. But I want to appease my sickness of appetite. And the only way I can do that is by burning down this forest and eating all that is in it. The 7 flames, the 7 tongues of Agni. Sapta Jihva has to taste that, has to eat that. Whenever I try to burn this forest, some way or the other, it will be watered down. Indra sends down rains and spoils my food. Imagine good food on your table and somebody comes and pours water on it. It will require a lot of vairagya to eat that. Now, the two of you are here and the two of you have knowledge of all weapons and both of you are invincible. And I have come to you wanting to take your help so that I may succeed in consuming this whole forest. That is the bhiksha I ask of you. When I start burning the forest, please ensure that the rain does not wet my progress. And also, please ensure that no creature escapes alive from this forest. That is the bhiksha I ask of you. There's a sloka in the Subhashitam. Yathagni pavano dhuta susukshmopi mahan bhavet tatha karma samayuktam daivam sadhu vivardhate. Just as a flame, a small flame, if it's helped by the wind, it can become into a great fire. Likewise, karma, helped by Daivam, can achieve great success. You can put it the other way. Daivam, helped by the karma, can achieve great success. Because destiny may be there, you may not do it. Then nothing will happen. Anyway, coming back here. So, this story is being told by Vaishampayana to Janamejaya and all that. So, Janamejaya asked Vaishampayana, what is this story? Why did the god Agni, Devaraja Agni, why did he want to burn this forest? He could have burned something else. Why was he so keen that he should burn this forest? I don't think that it is business as usual that Agni Bhagavan says that I want to eat this forest. There must be a reason. Tell me also what happened to the forest. Tell me in detail, he says. Vaishampayana says, O king, there's an ancient story that relates to the destruction of this forest. And I will tell you that today. One hears that in ancient times, there was a king by name Shvetaki, who was as strong and valorous as Indra himself. He was always intent on doing dana and conducting yagyas. He was constantly organizing yagyas, day in and day out. Every day of every year he was organizing massive yagyas. His purohitas were performing all those yagyas. And things came to such a head that the priests who were involved in those yagyas, all these days, all these years, they suffered heavily because of exposure to the smoke day in and day out in the fire. They were suffering. The eyes and all gone and all that stuff. So it is a big problem. So they, one by one, they started leaving the services of the king. One reason or the other. Then king was not getting enough priests to do this yajna. So he went and talked to them. He said he tried to call them back. But their eyes were all affected, so they declined to come. They said, we'll find it difficult and all that. We are not able to do it and all. But he still, he had many desires of certain yajnas. He wanted to conduct one Satri yajna, a long yajna, for many years it will go. He wanted to conduct that. And now the situation was that, his employees were not there. People were not there to do it. And he had, of course, plans to do many things. But these fellows didn't want to come because it was too much. So he went and talked to them. He again went and talked to them saying, what are you saying? You will not come, etc. Is there any deficiency on my part? Is it that I have paid you less? Have I not given proper dhanam? Did I not conduct everything as per Shastra? Is it not that what I am doing is the right thing to do for the king as far as Dharma is concerned? Is it not right that you are the persons assigned by God to fulfill these duties of mine? If you are not there to do these yajnas for me, then who will be there to do these yajnas for me? So if you are saying, I will not do it, etc., is not correct, he said. You should come and do it. Tell me what I can do to help you. But if I have to do this, etc., they told him, no, you see, it's like this, we can't do it. No, we can't do it. Our eyes, we're not able to do it. We're not able to do it. So they also almost told in a very firm manner, it seems. So he said, if you are not able to do it, and if you insist that you're not able to do it, then I may have to go and take somebody else. They said, yeah, you go, take somebody else. So then they said, he was shocked, saying like that. But you see, you can't, this happens even till today, you can't cross the Purohit who comes to your house and go to somebody else. This fellow might say all that. It's a big problem. Okay. He'll wish you ill will, something will do something. So it's not that easy. So even if you have to go to somebody else, you should ask him, you suggest who I should go to, since you're all that you have to do. So he has to negotiate that. So then they say, okay, do one thing. You go to Lord Shiva, he will do. He will conduct the yajna for you, Satra yajna. So go to Lord Shiva. What is he talking? But by the time the king was properly, upset by the entire, attitude, behavior, etc., he said, okay, we'll go. And all that. He went off. He said, okay. He went to Lord Kailas. He had tried every method. He had pleaded with them. He had tried to persuade them. He had tried to say, I'll give you more money. Tell me what you expect. We can give you more dhanam. He had tried everything with them, but they were not accepting. And nothing else could be done. So he went to Kailasa. And there he did Kathor Tapasya. Kathor Tapasya he did. Continuously for 6 months, keeping his senses and mind under control, eating only once in 6 days, or then later once in 12 days, then later once in a month, like that, for 6 months, standing, doing terrific tapasya, his mind and senses, everything under control. He stood there with folded hands, unswerving concentration. Bhagavan Shankara, the Ashutoshi, was pleased. It only takes 6 months of this to please him. He was pleased. He was pleased with this tapasya, and he appeared before him, blessed him, and told him, what is it that you seek? What is the boon that you desire? By now he is Rajarshi Shvetaki, he is Tapasvi. He touched Lord Shiva's feet, he prostrated to him and said, O Sarveshwara, O God of gods, O Deva Deva, O Sarveshwara, if you are pleased with my tapasya, please accompany me to my kingdom and conduct my yajna. Shiva was pleased, he liked the request, and he smiled and he said, King, doing yajna is not our work. But then you have asked a boon after doing heavy tapasya. O Naresha, O King, I will accede to your desire on one condition. If you observe brahmacharya for 12 years and conduct non-stop a yajna for 12 years, where you offer ghee every 24/7, non-stop into swaha, into the fire for 12 years, if you observe brahmacharya without break, then I will come. Your desire will be fulfilled. Bhakti is supposed to be offered like that. Ajyadharya, an uninterrupted flow of ghee into the fire is bhakti. At the end of the homa, you see, from that wooden stick, they'll be offering. It'll go on falling. Bhakti is like that. It should be sticky. It should be uninterrupted, flowing towards Lord. So anyway, he says 12 years you have to do this. Swami Shivananda, Divine Life Society says that 12 years of proper brahmacharya, you will see God. King Shvetaki, he took the advice to heart. How he managed Purohitas for this, we don't know, but he did faithfully for 12 years, he did that. Then Lord Shiva appeared before him, expressed his happiness and said, you wanted to conduct a Satrayagya, or whatever you wanted to do. But then, you see, I don't have the right to do it because I am not a Purohita myself, Shiva said. But there is my aspect who lives on the earth. He is the great sage Durvasa. I will request him to do the yajna for you. So he called for Durvasa. Durvasa came, he said, please conduct the yajna for this king. Durvasa agreed. And the great Satrayagya was held as per Shastra. It went very well. Very well. So all these yajnas are not as if the king, everybody has to observe terrific niyamas and all that. It's not easy. From morning till night, you cannot have any salt and, you should have, it's not a small time affair. It's strenuous. So strenuous. So they did all that. So non-stop Satrayagya, many years, ghee poured non-stop, etc. So at the end of the Satrayagya, Agni had been fed for many years. He had consumed so much food, food being ghee, so much that he had lost all taste for it. And just eating ghee non-stop, it upset cholesterol, everything was going haywire with him. He became ill. I don't know why Shiva had that plan that non-stop give that fellow ghee 12 years. All that Shiva had told. Somewhere, something or the other, he had said, you give that fellow ghee. So, now this Agni, he had become Panduvarna, he had become pale, he had lost color, he had been eating ghee non-stop and lost color. Nirvarna, he became colorless. He was not shining as before, resplendent and all that, gone. Like, an actor or actress before makeup, and like that he looked. Before, he looked like very different. And he had heavy stomach upset. All the time running. He lost his splendor. In this condition, he didn't know what to do. He went to Brahma and told him, Bhagavan, I don't know. Brahma is the one who writes the lipi of everybody. Na? So he went to Brahma and said, Bhagavan, I lost all my taste. I have become ill. I have become weak. It is my desire to regain my health. I would like to regain my health by your compassion. I want to regain my strength. He prayed to Brahma. Brahma looked into Jnana Drishti and said, because of ghee. Like a doctor, he told. It's all because of continuously eating ghee. It's not good for health. Alright, in your case, I'll tell you the remedy. In ancient times, you burnt a forest down in obedience to the request of the Devas. The Khandavana, you had burnt it down in ancient times. Now, the forest is flourishing again. The forest is flourishing again and is inhabited by trees and animals and birds of all kinds. Now you go and consume the whole forest. Relish the flesh of all the animals, the creatures who are living in the forest. Regain your taste, regain your health, regain your strength. Go quickly and start on the job. Agni went immediately, he lost no time, he started lashing that forest right, left and center, but it was a bit of a hurry. There was no plan in place, nothing. He had just gone and attacked that forest. The creatures in the forest, there are thousands of elephants. Apparently, they would just go to the nearest, spring or river or water, take the water in the trunk and put off that fire. Elephants themselves were putting off that fire. Didn't need Indra also. Elephants are putting it off. And then, not just them, many-headed snakes, it is. They used to rush in anger and douse that fire. I don't know, maybe they spat at it or what. They did that. Other animals also joined. So this was a bit difficult. So he was not getting initial success, Agni. Then he tried again. Then the Indra was intervening. All this was happening. Then he went back to Brahma and said, it's not working. I am not able to burn that forest. So Brahma, he didn't know Indra, etc., what is happening. But he said, this is not working. Brahma told him, he contemplated again, Brahma. So then he said, Agni Bhagavan, it looks like you will have to wait for some time. Because you need the help of Nara and Narayana for you to succeed in this project. You need to seek their help to burn the forest down. So wait, they will come. So Agni had been waiting all with his stomach upset and all that. You just bad time, you have to undergo. He was undergoing, somehow he was managing, etc. until this time when Nara and Narayana in the form of Sri Krishna and Arjuna had come near that forest. Brahma had quickly passed on the word to him, told him that these two are Nara and Narayana only. They come on earth for a reason. Together as Sri Krishna and Arjuna, you go and you approach them and then take their help and get your job done. So there he was. So he had come and Brahma had told him that this forest is protected by Indra and all that. So he came. So this forest is protected by Indra. So you seek their help, said Brahma to Agni. And don't worry, they can defeat anybody in battle. I have no doubt about this. So Vaishampayana has been telling Janamedeya, that is how Agni came to Arjuna and Krishna, as I told you earlier. Now Agni is here in front of Arjuna and Krishna and he is asking for Bhiksha. Taksha, friend of Indra, stays there. So he tells them this forest is protected by Indra, never lets a fire, etc. So I need your help, he tells Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna thought about it and told Agni, Oh Bhagavan, I have all manners of weapons with me, not an issue. But what I don't have right now is a good bow. I don't have a good bow. I need a bow which can withstand the might of my arm and respond to my speed. And to do this task, I also may need countless arrows which I can use at tremendous speed. I therefore need an endless supply of arrows, and also to keep these arrows and the bow and my weapons, I need a chariot. I need specific details he gives. I need white horses. He loves white, like Bhishma. He always wears white, everything is white. I need white horses that can run as fast as the wind. And I want a formidable chariot which will dazzle like the sun. I want a terrific chariot makes the sound of thunder of clouds. It got a big man in front of him who wants a favor from him. He's using that situation to get a few things. Once the project is over, that fellow will go away. He'll not make payment. Before that, he has to collect in advance some of the things that he wants. But he needs it, he says, because he knows the enemy. I mean, what is it? Indra will come, Baba. Once the battle starts, who is going to battle Indra? Indra is his own father. Arjuna's formidable enemy. Who wants to fight Indra? Anyway, Arjuna doesn't mind, but he needs all this. And he also, in good measure, he says, like me, Sri Krishna also needs a few things. He's come without any weapons. Krishna has come. He's come without any weapons, and there may be nagas and pishachas and all kinds of things will be coming out of this forest once the fire starts, and we have to keep the animals inside. All of that. So Bhagavan, tell us how we can complete this task so that I may stop Indra and prevent him from raining down the forest fire. Back to you. Paurushena tu yat karyam tatkartaro swabhavaka karanani samarthani Bhagavan dhatmarhasi. Says Bhagavan, we are ready to exert ourselves to our full extent to do this task. But we need equipment. If you equip us, please equip us with the tools to accomplish this task. 3 things you need for doing the task. Paurusham, your own will and your enthusiasm and your ability to do the task. You need astram. You need the tools to do the task. And you need Daivam. You need fate, or you need God, for a favorable force of nature to help you to accomplish that task. All that you need. So Arjuna said that, and Agni, not a problem. He said, yes, I understand. He immediately contemplated in his mind on Varuna, his co-friend, Lokapala, Varuna Deva. Varuna immediately was there, Agni doesn't call him usually and all that. When Agni's call is seen, he immediately comes, he answers it. So he immediately came, left everything and came. Varuna, the son of Aditi, the lord of waters, appeared before Agni and said, what can I do? You called me? Agni said, yes, I called you, Varuna Deva. Arjuna needs something very important for his task, and please give him what he is looking for. He is looking for a bow. So you have that bow which King Soma gave you, the divine bow. Please give him that bow. Also, please give him a quiver which will have an endless supply of arrows. Give him that. Also, give him a chariot which will fly on earth. That chariot, he specifically is telling one particular chariot. He said, that chariot which has got the flag with the monkey. Also, give Sri Krishna here, give him chakra. Chakrayuda. Then Varuna gave the Gandiva, the bow, to Arjuna. The Sudarshana was given to Sri Krishna. How was the Gandiva? Tadadbhutam Mahaviryam Yashakirti Vivardhanam. Adbhutam. It was awesome. Mahaviryam, great, valorous weapon. Yasha Kirti Vivardhanam. It will enhance the glory and the fame of the person who owns it or who wields it. Sarvashastraeranadrishyam. It is incapable of being broken by any other weapon. Sarvashastra Pramathija. It is capable of destroying every other weapon that is in front. Sarvayudha Mahamatram. It is bigger than all the weapons. It's big. Parasainya Pradharshanam. It is capable of destroying the whole army of enemies. That Gandiva bow. Ekam Shatasahasrena. It is equal to, by itself, it is equal to Eka Shatasahasrena, 100,000 other bows. Rashtravardhanam. It will expand the kingdom of the person who wields it. It goes on and on. The glory of the Gandiva is spoken of by Vaishampayana to Janmeja. That Gandiva is given by Varuna Bhagavan to Arjuna. Vyasa tells him, Vyasa says in the Bharatam that this particular Gandiva, this weapon had been worshipped for, it has straight come from worship. It has been worshipped for countless years by the Devas and Danavas and Gandharvas. Like Karna had that weapon which he used to worship every day. That particular weapon which he had meant to kill Arjuna, which he could not use. Matchless bow was given, Gandiva was given to Arjuna. He became so attached to it that at the end of his life in Swargarohana, he was loath to discard it. He didn't want to give it up. Agni himself had to come and ask him to return the bow, to give it back to Varuna, the Lord of Waters. He got, now Varuna gave him the quivers, the chariots, the horses, matchless horses, divine horses, Gandharva horses, fantastic ones. Chariot had been built by Vishwakarma himself. What a chariot! Vyasa says that a chariot is impossible to describe. Such a chariot. In ancient times, Soma, the moon, had ridden this chariot to defeat the Danavas. And of that chariot, what about that chariot was, what about it? About it was the flag. That flag, which had that ape, that monkey, fearsome as a lion or a tiger. The monkey looked like it would just consume the enemy to dust. You roar from that flag, high up in that flag. And that monkey was not alone. It was accompanied by Bhutaganas, all of them fierce. At its call, it was there. All possibilities were there. On that note, we'll conclude here today. Har Namah Parvati Pataye Janaki Kanta Smaranam Gopika Jivana Smaranam Vetrivil Muruganak Sri Sadguru Swamina Sri Anjaneya Swamina